All right, there's that. Here's an awkward shot of me leaning over. There's a sip
One
out of
day.
my Indianapolis Motor Speedway gas can cup. And hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Just Us Marks Wrestling Recap Show. I am the Athletic Geek, joined on the other end of the tin cannon string by Easy.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
It's Thursday night, and you know what that means.
Yep. Time to get our drinking out.
Your version of drinking.
Spoilers.
Nick.
What's up, everybody?
Nick is in the house tonight, and CJ might be joining us later. She was taking care of some charitable stuff in the community, so good on her. Good on her. But running a little bit behind. And we got some people in chat already, I think. Yeah, Miss Ace, yeah, definitely. And let me put out there that we're live so we can have a discussion about this. Again, eventually one day, I'm gonna have like a person to do this. Like as soon as it goes live, like bam, like they're off camera with like sharing the broadcast on my social media. Like that'll be the first thing that I buy if I ever get any patrons. So I've never seen this show before. Your money is now our money. We spent it on drugs. Name the reference. Either one of you know where that came from?
I don't know that.
Aqua Teen. Aqua Teen the movie. Your money is now our money. We spent it on drugs. So, yeah. Never seen the show before. This is the. Yep. I got this last week from Matt Cross himself. So I've never seen the show before. This is the Just Us Marks Wrestling Recap Show. I met CJ locally, if she is able to join the call. I went to high school with Nick, became friends with him through wrestling, and I met Easy at All In Starcast. And
been a wonderful 3 years since.
Been wonderful 3 years since. We love wrestling. We became friends through wrestling. We love sharing our love of pro wrestling with each and every one of you out there. However, just like each and every one of you out there, our opinions don't have any other fan. We think like marks because we are marks. We, avoid insider terms because we're not insiders, not wrestlers. We just marks, yo. Son of Havoc, yes indeed. So, it might still be on the channel. When Nick and I were playing Fire Pro Wrestling, there was the our stable of Suzuki Goon was me, Pete Dunne, Son of Havoc, Jedi, and Minoru Suzuki. And we were the me and Pete Dunne were the tag team champions. We called ourselves Geeky Strong Style. But Nick Walker was the world champion in that stable. Was that one PEE or was that one OWL? I know you had PEE.
That one was OWL.
OWL.
PE is on like year 14 now.
Yeah, PEE, for those that don't know, we made a joke promotion on the way to an indie show once where we decided to go all in, no pun intended, before All In, on just the entertainment aspect of wrestling. So we weren't going to have wrestling in the name. It's just entertainment. Professional entertainment for everyone, or PEE.
No wrestling.
No wrestling, just promos. Nothing but promos. We had quite the list of characters. We had Road McStripe, which was essentially ripping Brody Lee off, and we had Nick was Ramada,
the super best, the ultimate best friend,
the deluxe best friend, and
deluxe best friend.
The deluxe best friend that JC was, and his finishing move was he does a flying clothesline, but first high fives everybody and then clotheslines the wrestler. But he didn't. All he did was cut promos, and Nick was Ramada Friday, who was a Southern preacher and ran a circus.
And ran a circus show.
Circus.
Circus promoter, evangelical preacher, manager, wrestler extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm. This was the kind of shit that went on our minds, was in Nick and I's mind during road trips to independent shows or the Royal Rumble 2012. um, Speaking of which,
Do you still have the Ramada Friday promo anywhere? That was
no.
on that digital camera.
Somewhere on that digital camera, I have an early picture of me and Adam Cole and the Ramada Friday promo. Yeah. So anyway, unfortunately, we're gonna start the show off on a downer. Lots of releases. It's sad.
Oh, I thought this was the last thing we were going to talk about.
No, we're gonna talk about that first because I'm gonna be honest. Like, Rampage and Dynamite were good, but like a lot of it was just kind of. There's not a lot to say about them. Yeah, a lot of it was just build.
Matches wise, they were okay. Not like the greatest, not bad. I did think Kenny Omega and Alan Angels, that was a great.
That was a great match, but it's one of those things like I've said in the past where it's like great match, go watch it. Like there's nothing like there's nothing really, no underlying thing. I kind of like because I give my Dynamite thoughts like this. I like Kenny Omega and Alan Angels. I like what they're continuing to build up Punk and Eddie. I thought that.
Well, we're doing the releases first, right?
Yeah. I'm just giving my thoughts. Really, like there's still like boom, boom, boom. I could get that done in a minute, but yeah.
And promo wise, I thought like there was really great stuff spoken on the mic. So I know that we like the wrestling more than we would like for promos. Otherwise, we might as well make it a 3-hour show. But promo-wise, I got that everyone just pulled off their strings there. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was
like whether it was just Kenny or MJF or CM Punk, like everyone promo-wise hit it out of the ballpark. Just my opinion.
Yeah. And then and CJ's here. CJ's in the house now. She's here.
Hey, CJ.
So but yeah,
the
like
4 horsemen. Or no, the 4 geeks. You can do that. I don't know.
So it just kind of, a lot of really good stuff, but not a lot of like discussion points. Does that make sense? I mean, unless somebody else has something they want to say.
Well, I do want your reaction on this. Like, what was your reaction? You see Arn and Tully.
So are we doing this first? Is the review?
Yeah, we'll do this first now since we can get through it real quickly. Fuck it. It's been a sea of our pants kind of thing.
First.
We'll do Rampage. Danielson, Kingston, great. Check it out. Setting up CM Punk, also great. Check it out. Dante Martin, Matt Sydal, decent. Britt Baker and Abaddon, not so decent. They drew a good rating, but not the match I was hoping for. Just something was off, something was missing. But hey, any other thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I thought the Trick or Treat match could have been way better, especially like how you failed to break a table twice is like, guys.
I am the table.
It's like, damn, like, what were they getting? Like bamboo wood here?
I don't know. It's just kind of like it was one of those, much like sometimes on these broadcasts, everything that can go wrong did, and it just kind of went that way.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to add about that match?
The wrong table.
Probably.
Maybe.
Was it prepared to be broken?
Don't
want to use the wrong term here.
But yeah, the Bryan and Kingston match was phenomenal. Everything wanted more, but just I don't know. Unless somebody disagrees, like it's just kind of a go watch the match. Go watch the match. Much like the opening match to Dynamite this week. Go watch the match. Alan Angels made himself a star that night. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's really good.
And Alan Angel's going to be in Cape Girardeau, Missouri soon, so I'm excited about that.
Hey, there you go.
CCW.
Yeah, it's like twice it happened. Like, yep. I was like, the fuck.
I didn't really the Punk promo needed to be said, especially with everything going on with Moxley. But it was other than that, it was just kind of a
And
was a
I
big
even actually, I almost like
here
cried actually.
here's my only issue with that promo. It was a promo to set up a promo that we're getting tomorrow night.
Mm.
Just saying, like it was a promo to tell you that we're gonna have
Yeah.
another one.
That's true. However, I will provide the context that the promo between those two people are probably like two of the best promo guys in the entire world.
Oh, I agree with it, but I'm also just saying, again, kind of as grave a promo as that probably going to be. Just kind of think about it. A promo to set up a promo.
That promo would be the all-time greatest match in PEE history, though.
Yeah, in PEE history, yes. Yeah, it's like a hot pocket, you know.
They're kind of doing it in the wrong spot, though, because they are bringing in Eddie Kingston to be the bad guy in St. Louis, and
Yeah, it's something else. Go ahead, sorry.
I don't think that's going to work out for them well.
I mean, I know CM Punk transcends all rivalries that the city of St. Louis has with Chicago, but Eddie Kingston has endeared himself to the city of St. Louis on the independent scene for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was not a St. Louis guy, but he was like on top of that
He
indie
was.
scene for
Yeah.
a while.
And you know, Punk was also kind of like admitting, you know, he had been going through some faults in his past and with his demons. You know, he was thinking he was the tough guy there, but it's like only, you know, that stuff can honestly, like, you know, bring you down. I mean, like, we're not saying like all of us, but you know, some of us have probably have gone through some personal shit like that before. You know, and the fact that like with Punk openly like saying he is damn proud of Moxley for someone who's straight edge for saying like that is incredible. Like you got so
Well-
much courage out of this guy who he's gone through so much in his life, whether you know it was his fault or it was from somebody else. You know, he owns up to his own actions and he learned to move forward with it. So with Moxley, you know, it's the same ordeal where he's not looking to, you know, just relive his past. He's looking to just move forward with his life, and especially when you got a little kid that has entered the world. You know, you do it for her.
Yep. Hopefully it all turns out okay. So we have
and who knows? Like maybe this could be like the reimagining out of John Moxley, like we probably saw out of
I don't
Shawn
want
Michaels.
to see. I hope so, but I don't want to speculate on that right now. I just really want to think about Moxley getting help.
Throwing in our 2 cents here.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kind of like I don't want to think like, well, maybe he'll, you know, maybe he will. Maybe I don't know if Mox is gonna go the religious path like Sean, but maybe this maybe this will help him. But I'd more so rather than think about, you know, a second wrestling career, I'm more thinking about John Moxley getting better. The only thing I will say in terms of wrestling is they did a really great job. Finding a replacement and getting, you know, kind of just, you know, the proverbial next man in.
And I predicted the future too. It's like I literally
I think they were very respectfully addressed it as well.
Yes. So moving on, Christian Jurassic Express beat down the Super Elite, so we may not even get John Silver versus Adam Cole tomorrow. We will see.
I thought they announced it for another night.
No, that's.
You think it's going to be a 6-man at the pay-per-view?
Okay, I know we talked a lot off air about this, but I just want to say this for the record. If they do not have Adam Cole versus John Silver, the only thing that they've guaranteed us that is guaranteed to have some sort of quality of the clusterfuck of bringing that promotion to this town, please do not bait and switch that.
Somebody will riot if Meat Man is not there. I'm not going to say who.
Yep. Yeah, we gotta get the budge out. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I understand you got this storyline with Jurassic Express and Adam Cole. Hey, that's cool. This is kind of a stopgap. I'm with it. I'm hip. I got it. But of all the things that of everything we've gone through, this is the main event. This was the selling point. This was the main event, main talent level match that we got coming to us. Of everything that's been taken away, please do not use this as a time to take it away from take something else away from us in the name of an angle that could have been prevented. Other stuff couldn't have been prevented. This can't.
Now there's one thing that I'm a little bit annoyed is the Elite and the Super Click are like in two different storylines that's really hard for me to keep up. One minute where they're fighting Dark Order, and then the next they're fighting Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. It's like, can we just pick an angle, stick with it? Dark Order can do another feud with somebody else. I mean, maybe American Top Team after their feud with Inner Circle, or hell, Dark Order Inner Circle. I
Well,
don't know,
but here,
in the future.
I'm gonna disagree with you, and I'm gonna disagree with you in partial. I don't mind multiple angles because, in every other form of
It's like
story.
they're all crashing at one, and I just lose track.
Okay, I mean, I'm sorry you're losing track,
I
but
don't think they're really feuding with the Dark Order. The Dark Order are just adjacent to Hangman,
yeah,
and Kenny is feuding with Hangman.
Yeah.
it's kind of here's kind of to kind of give some perspective. It's like, even like think of like another TV show you're watching. You kind of have the main bad guy for this. Like, look at the Flash. Like, it was Zoom for one season was the main bad guy, but like you had kind of your short term other things that were going on too. You know what I mean? You had Captain Cold waiting in the wings. You had things like that. Even taking this to wrestling, look at something like, like Barry Windham was kind of at times he was like he had his thing going, against Tully, but he also had some Flair stuff going too. Or he was, Magnum TA was wrestling, had Flair waiting in the wings, but he was also going after Nikita Koloff. So he had like, kind of had multiple pots going, and that just made it easy. Like, okay, so for this week we can, add a new layer to Magnum and Nikita, and then next week we can add a new layer to Magnum and the Horsemen.
And it was like that in the Attitude Era too. Like that's what keeps you from having the same match every single week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can understand a lot going at once, especially when you're not used to it. It's not easy, but I feel like, my opinion, I feel like that's a good thing for wrestling, as long as it doesn't get too convoluted. Like, and here's Hangman's 12th opponent, and this one's because they stole his horse. And then here's Hangman's 13th opponent, and this is because they peed in his cowboy boots. And then here's Hangman's 14th opponent, and that's because they said that that their favorite type of beer is better than his favorite type of beer. As long as they don't like to muddy it up too much, I feel like they're doing well with it right now.
The Pinnacle is doing something very similar too.
That's something else, kind of. Unless there's anything else anybody wants to add about that, kind of bleeding into this next portion. FTR versus Samurai Del Sol and Aerostar. Sorry if I mispronounced that. He's not Kalisto anymore, but
Samurai.
Samurai. That's not how I normally spell samurai. But yeah, this is a good match. And then like we're also later on down there, jumping around a little bit, when Cody and Andrade, because Andrade's the one that set this up for FTR to win the AAA tag belts. FTR already paid the favor when Andrade was wrestling Cody later on that night. So I kind of like this whole like loose alliance,
I like it too. I like
wheeling and dealing with the bad guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the 80s, like WWF era, where like all the bad guys were friends and all the good guys were friends.
Like
Like,
you don't have to go
any good guy can come run out and like save another good guy who's getting beat up. Because
But
that's
then-
what you would do if you
That's
were a
what you
good
would do.
person.
But like also it doesn't always happen. So if next week the Ultimate Warrior didn't save, Roddy Piper, it was okay. Made sense because
Mhm.
they're not a team. That time they did
Yeah.
because, here's there was a reason because the people, they made a deal and they're beating Roddy Piper down and here comes Warrior but next week Piper's on his own. So yeah, I like that. Inner Circle American Top Team segment. I mean, check out the segment. The one thing I will say is Dan Lambert is a managerial genius.
I feel like I should be more excited about this.
I thought he did. I mean, I'm not as excited about the match as I feel like maybe I should be, but I feel like that's also because everything else is stacked up. But Dan Lambert's reaction, again, I bring up old school wrestling.
Maybe that's what it is. I just as yeah.
Now I'm
But
just waiting
you're
for Paul
ready to
Heyman to fight
see-
on SmackDown.
Well, it's like that. You're ready to see Dan Lambert get his ass kicked in a multitude of ways.
It's very much it's really reminiscent of all the old school when the manager's finally going to get something coming to him when JJ or Bobby Heenan or Jimmy Hart is going to get theirs.
It's honestly sad for me to say this, but I actually, and we'll probably talk full year predictions next week, but I kind of see American Top Team winning this. Because it's a lot of people are expecting the Inner Circle are just going to beat them
Cornette.
senselessly, and then in the end, they're going to win it by a margin. It's I don't think so. I mean, we kind of thought that with Cody MJF at Revolution, and look what happens.
Yeah.
So I'm sadly going to say this just as an early prediction. I am sadly going to go with American Top Team on this. No matter how many times I absolutely want to see Dan Lambert get his ass kicked. Something's going to happen.
There might be more meat
Also
on
today.
There's more
also
meat on the
thanks
bone
to
for
yes-
this
It'd
feud
be fun to
too.
see Andre Arlovsky. He used to be one of my favorite fighters.
And also one thing to add, it wasn't until yesterday that we discovered Paige Van Zandt has an OnlyFans.
Does she though?
You what?
Does she?
Apparently she does. If you are into that stuff or you do that stuff, good for you. I really just don't give two shits.
I mean, it is what it is.
What's happening?
So we already talked about Cody and Andrade. Controversial opinion because I know Andrade wrestled Pac twice. This was a better match than both Pac matches. Come at me, internet. This match had a better story. It had stakes. Got a little convoluted. I'm not gonna say it wasn't, but I mean, so did the other ones. I enjoyed this match
That's
more.
Cody.
I
I
enjoyed
thought it
this
was
match more.
pretty much on
It was
par.
good.
Wasn't as good as the last Cody Malachi Black match.
No. I feel like it's kind of you mentioned on par. It's interesting. It's one of those. Everything else I was told, and everybody feels like that one's here, but I feel like it's here. But because everyone else felt like that match was here, and I feel like it's here, maybe I feel like I like it more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're probably the same quality of match, but I don't hear anyone talking about how this is a match of the year candidate compared to the other ones that I didn't feel were match of the year candidates. But this one I really enjoy, and everybody's kind of going like, "Oh well, it's a Cody match, so it sucked." Poor Andrade had to put his, had to put the backpack on to carry his talentless ass. Since that's what I normally hear, I guess maybe that's why I'm thinking this match is better.
I think Andrade is finally starting to come into his own, be a little more
Yes.
interesting. Maybe it's because he's consistently been on TV now, but
Maybe it's because he's with somebody who brings the best out of people.
mm-hmm.
Not saying nothing, just saying. Easy Cassie, CJ, what do you say? I broke my own rule. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I liked this match better than Pac matches. I like Cody matches though. I feel like he's very consistent in telling a story in the ring and not overcomplicating everything.
Yeah. And for the record, earlier I was just talking about the person that was now in the inspiration. That's who I was referring to. Old Ron Dog.
Are you
Flair.
trying to get Cassie Lee to come in
Yeah, you know.
with the Ron Dog?
Yeah, you can bring
It
old
was
Ron,
actually funny.
bring
one
old
of
Ron
my
Dog
all-
in here.
Can you get Ron Dog and his accountability buddy?
It's accountability buddy.
It's funny actually. One of my all-time favorite female hockey players is Cassie Campbell because Canada is amazing.
Sure, let's go with that. Speaking of
I mean, you
accountability,
guys look amazing. Hey, you guys look amazing in silver medals. So just saying, really rocks it.
I look amazing watching sports that I care about.
Yet you're from the city that won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, we also have 11 World Series championships too. So
We have
Yeah,
more
and
rings
it's
than
been-
fingers.
Yeah, and what happened in the last 10 years?
we've had
We
we've
had
I'll be
uh,
quiet.
we've dominated
I'll be quiet.
We've dominated the Central. Had another good World Series run. I mean, I'm just saying, like baseball over
But,
hockey all day.
I will say this though, it was funny just watching how Texas fucks up twice to win the World Series. He had 2 chances and he blew it.
But
No
you know, there was the Darby Allin segment with MJF. This is a really good segment. Really liked what MJF did, and then also the accountability buddies were in there. And hey, I'm gonna point this out for the record: accountability buddies to beat Lucha Bros. Accountability buddies tag team champs, yo. All right, let's move on.
I'm still waiting for my Sean Spears hey shirt.
Yeah, accountability buddies tag team champions. Book it.
But I
Orange
will just
Cassidy
say,
versus
just
me.
One more quick note. This was probably the most serious I've ever seen MJF go with the promo. It's like this was like whoa.
He got real tongue tied.
Yeah, he got
Like,
tongue tied a lot. He did a good job to
didn't
recover.
like stop, but he said something. I'm like, that's not what that word means.
But still, like normally, you know, when he's cutting a promo, he's like adding in some real heat, like just making fun of the fans or making fun of the city. No, this case he was just like
Do you think this was any better
Real-
than?
like a real true bad guy promo.
You think this is any worse than
And-
him insulting Dusty and Brandy when he was giving Cody 10 lashes? I mean, I'm just
trying to
saying.
point out again.
Well, it's
he
not
was-
his most devious,
looked
but it's
like
his
he
less,
was
least like
actually cutting-
cheesy.
Yeah, I
He
can
was
get with that.
making something serious.
I get it. I'm just saying, like the whole Cody program
Yeah,
though,
the,
like
the lashes
but-
thing, by the way, it's still like uncomfortable to
but-
watch. It's
but
like,
because it was so long ago, like people forget, you know, just like how deep like people hated MJF. Like everything that I wanted about MJF
it's
at that
It's
time,
gonna
because
be
it was
like-
before it became extremely cool to hate Cody. That
it's
was a
gonna be
thing
the
then.
list of things AEW wants you to forget is the 10 lashes. It's like, yeah, trust
Do
me,
they?
I want to. It's like it was uncomfortable to watch live. It's still uncomfortable to watch then, especially when your own video on YouTube says viewer discretion advised or something.
Exactly, like that was the point. Sometimes you gotta like to get. I'm not saying like it shouldn't be like a trope that they go to all the time because it needs to mean something, but sometimes you've got to feel uncomfortable. Like I'm not saying like don't like go offensive or don't go like. Sometimes you got to go there. Like that is why things work. You got to go there. Like, you know, when the Horseman jumped Dusty Rhodes and broke his arm, at the time that made everybody feel uncomfortable. And that's what they needed to get that whole program over. You know, when you know, you don't get a lot nowadays because there's a lot more rules, but like I feel like they found the line and they, you know, they played I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you with it, but they did the right, like they found the right amount of discomfort that you sometimes to get that sort of reaction, the reaction that you need to sell a match. Sometimes you got to feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I mean, that's
Everyone's got a different viewpoint.
Yeah. But because I also think that was some of the best like work in AEW history right there, but that's just me. So then we go to Miro versus Orange Cassidy. Good match.
You
Miro and
skipped over the
Brian.
women's match.
What? I didn't see it on here.
You skipped over the women's match.
Where was it? I didn't see.
Jamie Hayter versus Anna Jay.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That was good. That's good.
That was rough. I didn't think it was good at all.
I mean, it was good. I like Jamie Hayter. I thought she tried.
I do not.
Wasn't Anna's best
I think
outing.
Jamie Hayter's not very good.
Okay.
And I don't know
really
anything before AEW, but
It
I've
just- it
not
happened.
been impressed by her one time since she's been in AEW.
Yeah.
It happened.
I don't know, maybe
just
I'm
couldn't get
missing
behind
something,
it.
but
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad, but I don't know. Maybe it needs a rewatch. But main event: Miro, Orange Cassidy. Good match. Brian versus Miro is going to tear the fucking house down. And it might be a match. Yeah, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
This is a match that we didn't really get in WWE that could have been great.
I was even like looking up. It's like, okay, like Brian and Miro have actually fought like only a few times, but never like a real good single one-on-one match. Like he had a tag match against him and Aiden English. I forget who his partner was, but no, they really haven't fully crossed paths with the other company that I'm gonna have such a fun time talking about next.
Well, anything else anybody wants to add about this main event?
I don't know. Do you think that Miro wins?
You
I
know
think it's
that
a really bad idea for Bryan Danielson's to go against Hangman in his first title defense.
true, but it's also a
because
bad
Hangman
idea for
would not
Brian to
get you
lose
over
so
Bryan
early.
Danielson.
But I think that actually, I'm not. I think that makes. I don't mean for this to sound insensitive at all, because I really wish we were getting what we were going to get, and I really wish the circumstances were different. But I feel like there's now an extra, with it being Miro and not Moxley, we have a different layer of intrigue.
I feel
like it's no longer a
could be-
foregone conclusion.
I feel like this could be a good match for if they're gonna bring back Winters coming again for Brian and Hangman. Like it could be a good like TV title match maybe, because I don't see this as a Revolution match.
Brian and Hangman.
I don't want that match to happen for Hangman. He's like your hottest guy right now, and you're gonna have him go up against someone who, like, there's maybe 2 or 3 people in the company that he would probably not get cheered against, and Bryan Danielson is definitely one of them.
Well, you can have Miro win, have Miro and Hangman be a Winter is Coming match, and then
And then
start-
who wins?
and then who wins?
I would probably have Miro win.
No.
I mean,
No,
then you
no,
just
no,
no, no.
like 2
Win against
years.
Brian. Win against Danielson.
Okay, I was
yeah.
about Hangman.
But against
yeah,
Miro.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if Miro wins against Danielson, which is,
Could
Brian's
happen,
fine no matter who beats him. He's fine.
I mean, Ruby lost her
everyone needs
first
an
match
undefeated
against Baker
streak.
for the title. So
No.
it's like, if we're okay with that, I'd be okay with just Miro like
he-
beating Brian on this.
CM
Miro-
Punk
Miro-
and Brian Danielson can lose every single match that they're in for the next 3 years and be fine.
Danielson
have
also
good
already
matches.
lost the tag
Oh.
match.
Here's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Miro
And
wins
he
against
did lose the
Brian.
TNT belt to Darby
Miro wins against
or Sammy. Sorry.
Brian. Miro has his title shot against Hangman, loses. Then you can also set up a secondary feud of Brian wanting his win back, not only against Kenny, but against Miro. You know, he never beat Kenny.
Yeah.
Didn't lose Kenny. So by Miro beating Brian, you have another feud for Brian. What I would do with Hangman is I would make sure, like, I would have him go on a streak of beating WWE guys. Miro beaten, Brian beaten, you know,
Throw a dart. Like, you're gonna land on probably a WWE guy.
yeah, like Adam Cole, like, go have him run the WWE gamut to kind of symbolically go, yeah, this is AEW. We're beating you. This is our guy reigns supreme, and then
Yeah,
go
I just
from
think
there.
you need to let him like bask in that love because eventually, and that's just the way it goes since, the territory era went out. A good guy champion just loses steam because it's just, it's eventually going to happen regardless of who it is. Um, so I think Hangman, I wouldn't put him up in a good guy match for like a couple months. That's why I don't think Danielson should win. You let that ride just as hot as it can be, and then you could start doing those kind of gray matches.
Yeah.
So now it's time for the shit portion of this. There's a lot of releases. A lot of
Definitely get the drink.
releases. So far, it is Karrion Kross and Scarlett, Grand Metalik, Lince Dorado, Ember Maroon, Ty Valkyrie, Oni Lorcan, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, and others. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks that all these people are losing their job. It sucks that, it sucks that now not only are all those WWE names released, all the Ring of Honor names are released as well, and that company's future is in question. And we have a plethora of great talent, and the bubble is being inflated, and it's going to have to burst eventually, and it sucks. So I know that Easy is ready to talk about this. I'm going to say this for the
That's why we
record.
heard the Coke pop.
I'm going to say this. I'm a lot of the things I'm going to say are not going to be popular things to hear, but they're the truth. And I in no way like what WWE has done, feel like WWE should be doing it, or feel like it was the right call. So I'm saying that for the record before you hear what I have to say afterwards. But I'm also going to say that, well, you don't know what you're dealing with in some cases. So Easy, I'll let you and everybody else take the floor on this one first.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to primarily just talk about the following people. Frankie Monet, B-Fab, Scarlett, Mia Yim, Ember Moon, Nia Jax, Karrion Kross, and Keith Lee. Now, and this is just only from what I'm reading on like the list that BR Wrestling said, so I'm just going to go like one at a time just real quick here. With Frankie Monet, like, you signed her way back in the wintertime, and then suddenly, like, here we are in November. Now you're like, you don't know what to do with her, and you release her. Like, wait, what? What are you? What? Is this one of those things where it's like you had them for a short time, and suddenly you don't know what to do with them anymore? So next up, B-Fab. From, if you don't know that name, that's the girl in the Hit Row, and this part it really shocked the Twitter, where it's like, wait a minute, the one that's literally saying Hit Row, like, didn't you just call them up a few weeks ago, and now suddenly you just want to break them apart faster than oh my god, I'm writing a name here. Forget it. But yeah, you just like you release them like one of your members already. I was like, wait, what was the point then? Like, weren't they like making a huge name for themselves on NXT? Like, I remember like their promos, they were good enough for me to say like, oh my god, like I hate these guys. They look so like it just annoy me and all that. It's like that's the reaction they want to go for. So it's like, what was the point then? You just want a 3-man group there? It's like when they broke up Sanity. So that was a whole other rant you could find on one of the episodes then. Now, Scarlett, I'm going to talk about her with Karrion Kross. Now, Mia Yim is like, this was like, what? Again, just one of those, wasn't she like supposed to be like one of your best, like up and coming superstars, especially out of NXT? Like, what the actual hell? Like, I thought you had a plan for her or something. Again, this is what happens when you're self-imploding NXT and you don't know what to do with them. Ember Moon, oh my god, like, this was somebody is the ultimate would have, could have, should have, but in this case, you fucked it up. the only woman on NXT to have won the women's championship and the NXT women's tag team championship. Like, you had such a great opportunity when you call her up, especially with the next person I'm going to refer to having a pretty amazing debut for Raw. Then suddenly, after you can figure out what to do with her, you send her back to NXT. Then you bring her back up onto SmackDown, I think, right? If you kept them, I don't know. And it's like, again, it's always my question about like, what's the plan? What are you going to do with them in the next 3, 6, 9 months, a year? Like, what the actual hell here? Now, Nia Jax, this one again, like shocked me a little bit, but also not necessarily because I understand that she was probably extremely difficult to work with. You know, we've heard some like heat between her and all that, but I still thought like she was great for the time being. So it's like, again, back to my point on, did you not have another plan for her? Like, what exactly were you gonna do? And she was like the women's tag team champion with Shayna Baszler like months ago. Like, what the hell here? So, and also Eva Marie was released, but honestly, I don't really give two shits about it. It does suck that you lose a job. So we'll say that. I mean, I've been part of that road before, but still, it's like Eva Marie. It's like, you brought her back for what? By the way, so that's the quick one. Now, Karrion Kross and Scarlett, this is the ultimate. What the actual fuck are you doing here? I did this reign, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the summertime when we had the rumors that Karrion was going to be brought up to Monday Night Raw, but they're going to split up the duo. It's like, no, you can't have one without the other here. Like, Scarlett is why Karrion looks so freaking scary, and then suddenly they do all these stupid things to him on Monday Night Raw, especially losing to Jeff Hardy on your first match. Like, hey, we all love Jeff Hardy here, but that quick and all to send a message to NXT because you couldn't beat AEW in the ratings? Like, really? Is it really here? Karrion Kross could have been, and I can't believe I'm doing this comparison here. Karrion Kross could have been your Brock Lesnar here, except he shows up to work to actually defend his championship here. Karrion Kross could have been your face of Monday Night freaking Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. Like, honestly. And now the one that everybody has been pissed off about on Twitter was Keith Lee being released. This was a guy that you built so much incredible momentum for him, like having an incredible, like, I guess, like mini little one-on-one on Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, making a huge statement for himself, and then just slowly but surely building him up. He was NXT champion. He was NXT North American champion. You know, this was guy that, again, I relate it back with Karrion Kross. He could have been the next big champion that you have for you guys. But again, you thought, nah, I don't think so. He's no other guys that, you know, he could be like Seth Rollins or all that. And there's a tweet that I saw earlier, but it was like, I forget, I'll take too long here. But anyways, like Keith Lee was, I didn't really get behind him at first, but it's like, you know what, he's great. That's all I gotta say. And then you do the stupid, oh, we're gonna change him to Bearcat Keith Lee. Like, great. But again, like it really sucks that we have to talk about these releases here, and it doesn't make me, you know, give them any sort of respect here. And the one thing that especially like pissed me off was like, this was like while they were doing their like quarterly like talk about stuff. And I saw a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp saying that Stephanie McMahon compares WWE to Marvel, which first off, that's an insult to everybody who loves superheroes, saying that each superstar is their own brand, much like Marvel characters. Okay, so explain to me about these releases. And I said, like, at least Marvel doesn't sell their superheroes to DC. Like, it's that. And then also, I did a quote to you saying, like, this aged well, that Nick Khan says WWE wanted a younger, fresher approach with NXT 2.0. Says we'll see more NXT talent heading to Raw and SmackDown. And I just said, well, that aged well. And then there's one tweet from Jordan Grace said, it's one thing to not renew someone's contract. It's another thing to have someone uproot their entire lives, move them to an unfamiliar neighborhood or unfamiliar area, and release them from their contracts mere months into it. That's what's fucked up, which that part I agree with. And especially, and I heard this earlier from Sean Sapp's podcast that, Christmas is literally a month away, and you just release these guys where it's like, and they have these no compete clauses for like the next few weeks. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with them? And what the hell are they gonna do with their lives if they can't make their life doing what they love because, oh, I can't fight for the next 1 to 3 months here? Like, there's no sympathy out of what WWE does. And I understand that, maybe out of a corporate perspective, maybe it was justified or all that. But if I'm not mistaken, they said they recorded record profits of like over 256 million, all because, everyone's finally going back to live events. SummerSlam was in a stadium at long last. Then what the hell is the point of these budget cuts here if you're saying, we gotta do some budget cuts here? Like you just said, you're making record profits here. It's like if Coca-Cola said, our latest quarterly net worth has been, $1.7 billion. I'm just saying off the top of my head. Oh no, we're also cutting half our staff at the bottling plant because, we gotta make budget cuts. It's like, what the fuck were you trying to preach about on your record profits here? Like, seriously.
Because there's no such thing as too much profit in the mind of a corporation like WWE. Cold, sad, hard fact. There is
again, I
no
guess it
such
is safe to
thing as
say-
too much money, and if they can do whatever they can,
I mean,
especially with
it is
rumors
safe
of a
to
sale.
say they're not a pro wrestling company. It's sports entertainment. They just happen to have a wrestling ring in the middle of their
It's not even.
concerts or whatever.
They're a content creator. They are a part. They do not care. They do not. The budget cuts. Anything is a budget cut if it's getting in the way of them making more money. That's it.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Now I heard one question.
It's pathetic.
And I heard one interesting question here is if this is what WWE does with record profits, what would they do if profits drop?
Release more people. Cut back on everything. Like you kept in 1995, they were like really not making a lot of money, and
They stopped having water
what if-
delivered to the
But
tower.
what if cutting
Yeah.
people isn't really solving anything? What if your product continues to suck no matter how many changes you're doing? This is what's getting me worried about, like, what exactly is your plan for 2022? And if there's the rumor about, well, they're just doing this because, they're going to get bought out by NBC or some shit like that. It's like, how about you just maybe want to focus on, like, maybe rebuild something right now and then say, okay, this is going to be our long-term plan moving into 2022. And I understand that with last year, with honestly, like the beginning of this year and last year, we had a pandemic. Everybody got hit by that. I will give them that. But now things are slowly actually getting back to normal by the time that next year, we're probably going to be finally in the clear that we no longer have to worry about whether we got our masks in our pocket or not.
Do you think that, I mean, like, in theory, that's a good way of thinking. And I am not saying that you are wrong from a moral perspective from any side of things.
No,
But here is the inconvenient truth. Do you honestly believe that NBC Universal gives a fuck about any of that product? Other than, are you drawing money? Are you drawing a rating? They could go out there and have Vince McMahon sit on a toilet for 3 hours on Monday Night Raw, and if it sold some fucking t-shirts, if it made the advertisers
NBC
happy,
doesn't care about t-shirt sales.
yeah, or if it got ratings and got viewers and turned a profit, they don't care. So if they don't care about the product means fuck all.
Here,
to
here's
NBC.
a really
I understand.
Let's CJ talk. She hasn't had anything to say yet. She hasn't anything to say yet.
So here's some perspective on, like, wrestling draws people. And okay, we're talking about ROH going down the drain and not doing any shows. You will still see an ROH product on Sinclair Broadcasting Networks every week. They'll be doing rerun shows, and like kind of like the Impact in 60, the old shows will be replayed for the next 3 months. Why? Because that wrestling replay show draws more eyeballs than anything else, and they don't have to really recreate the product. Wrestling shows bring in capital. They bring in eyeballs. They bring in advertiser dollars. They're a sure bet. You don't have to worry about renewing seasons. You don't have to worry about any of that shit. It is a television dream. As far as why they keep releasing people, even though they're recording record profits, because they're a publicly traded company. And the more money, the more revenue they have, when you're a stockholder, if you go buy shares of WWE stock, if they have record profits, they'll declare dividends. And that means that you get money. You get a share, you get a portion of whatever funds, whatever cash they decide to divvy among the stockholders. What they're doing is raising their stock price, because when their stock price goes higher, they're a more favorable company. It looks good. It's all one pretty package. WWE, the corporation, the quarterly call that I unfortunately have not had time to listen to yet, that is completely and totally different and separated from WWE, the product that we may or may not watch or talk about. That company, while it's the same company, the company is run by the same person. It's Vince. It's a wrestling company. It's a sports entertainment company. It's a content creator. It's all the same, yes, but these are two completely different worlds. And the people who are mostly listening to that stock call, other than like me, some other nerdy people like me, or people that are going to report on it for other people, it's not the same, and it doesn't merge well. And a lot of people can't understand why these questions aren't being asked. Like, well, why does your content suck? Why are your ratings down? Sometimes those questions get brought up, but at this point in the world, it doesn't matter, because they're locked into deals with NBC and Fox. The money is coming in regardless from those and the Saudi Arabia shows, which are why they're recording the record profits. And on, like, I feel for all these people. I do. Their non-compete clauses mean that they are paid out. So it's not like, okay, well, you have a non-compete, so you can't work. They will be paid for the 30 days or 90 days. However, when their contract is truly up, when that non-compete clause is up, is when the money will stop being paid out to them. So they basically have a 3-month vacation, which is kind of nice. They are paid very, very well for the fact that they can't go and work anywhere else, that they're exclusive to WWE. WWE pays them for that right. If it wasn't fiduciarily responsible for them, they wouldn't do it. That's why Impact and AEW talent can work other places, is because they're not paid as high. So that's why they let them go do it. Like, hey, go be able to make your money selling your own merch and making your own bookings. Like, make a little extra, because we're not paying you like they are, but you have this opportunity to make your own extra money. For Mia Yim, for Keith Lee, for Karrion Kross, for Scarlett, for Ember Moon, for all those people, I can't speak for them, but I would personally congratulate them on their good fortune, because they weren't being used. They were sitting in catering. Now they don't have to make the trip to whatever town WWE is in to sit in catering and listen to a crazy old man tell them that they're going to wear gladiator outfits, or they have to growl and scratch and meow at people when they do show up on TV. Like, a lot of these people are creative, and they've been able to get themselves over in spite of some things that have been done to them on the creative side, or just on their own merit. And they're talented, and they're going to land on their feet, and they're going to be happier. And we've seen that, I think, in a lot of cases. I know for a fact, like Moxley and the Inspiration, who isn't even formerly the Iconics, who aren't even in AEW. All the AEW talent that we have that was WWE roster, they're all so much happier because they get that creative freedom. And TNA and AEW, and hopefully if ROH comes back, them too, and the independents and GCW and MLW, there's so many options that are going to give them creative freedom to really go out, because they're not just fighters. They're not fighters. They're artists, and they're creative, and they want to contribute to their craft, and they weren't getting that opportunity there. It's very much a show for one person, and it's him, and he doesn't dig a lot of the things that are popular now that these people want to do. And maybe that's part of why those people got released, because I can very specifically see Karrion Kross and Keith Lee being quote unquote trouble, like another one Bray Wyatt is rumored to have been, that they don't want to do the stupid gimmicks. They don't want to go out there and meow or dress up as a gladiator and get just demolished. They want to protect their character. They want to be creative. They want to do cool shit. And they're not being able to do that. And so we've heard from all the guys from the 90s and the 80s and every other time that's worked with Vince being like, oh, you just got to stand up to the old man. The old man doesn't like that anymore. The old man is a billionaire and he doesn't care. He'll make money in spite of himself. So he really doesn't care what your artistic vision is for your character. He wants what he wants, and he won't be told differently. And I think that a lot of these releases are very indicative of that he doesn't want to listen to you. So you can either sign your deal, take your money, go out there and do whatever the fuck he wants you to do, or
And hold on to that
door.
and hold on to that one shining glimmer of hope that, whether, again, another inconvenient truth that a lot of wrestlers still have is, God damn, I want that WrestleMania moment.
They want the and
money,
unfortunately
and that
it's not going to
WrestleMania.
happen for a lot.
You know, and it's why people still do sign with the WWE. We have heard everything. It's, again, I'm cycling all the. It reminds me of a Jim Gaffigan joke. Jim Gaffigan's one of my favorite comedians. and he would. I'm going back to McDonald's, and I've compared WWE to McDonald's a bunch. He always talks about, like, here's this, hey, the food's not actually that good, and it's terrible for you, and we don't know where the meat comes from, and look at what they found in it, and everybody goes, oh no, it's disgusting. I will have a Big Mac, large fry, and milkshake, and Diet Coke. And that is
the ice cream machine ain't working.
And that is the wrestling business. We hear, oh, your creative vision is stifled, and it's a rough place to work, and the grind is hard. The money's good, but the grind is hard. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And maybe now that nowadays, yeah, there are more that might be independent wrestlers going, ooh, AEW is my goal, Japan is my goal, Mexico is my goal, whatever, and that's great. But there's more wrestlers doing that now, but there's still probably, we hear all those stories, but there's still like that, like, oh no, that's terrible. Here's a contract you might get to wrestle at WrestleMania. Oh, I'm gonna sign here because I might get my WrestleMania moment, because unless you're a wrestler, and there's people that probably say they have no interest in that. That's fine. But unless you're a wrestler and are put with that contract in front of you and have that carrot dangling in front of you, and it may be a hemisphere away, when you're seeing that and you're like, I can go to WrestleMania, I can win the world title at WrestleMania, I can be just like Hogan and be just like Brett and be just like Savage and Shawn and Austin and Rock and Cena, and get that moment. We don't know what goes through a wrestler's head. So they sacrifice their creativity for the money and the fame, because we don't know what it's like to do that. So
and some of them, this is their retirement plan. Shinsuke Nakamura he re-signed his deal because he is coasting on that hard money.
Mm-hmm.
He has put in all of his work. He's worked his ass off to get where he is, and he is peachy keen, just coasting in and riding that money. Randy Orton has been coasting for a decade on that money. I'm pretty sure that AJ Styles is not complaining about the check because he got kids.
Mm-hmm. He got kids, and he's in his mid-40s.
Yeah. A lot of those guys are like, well, this is it's not a less demanding schedule, but I don't have to work as many matches. I don't have to work as hard in the matches, and that paycheck looks real good. I don't have to work as hard. They don't have to sling their merch by themselves. They don't have to create their own merch. They don't have to come up with it. There's a lot of things that WWE takes care of that a lot of other places won't. And it's kind of cozy once you've done all that work, I'm sure.
And it's just
And
it's and I'm saying this. This doesn't just because we're giving the WWE's perspective on this. I mean, I can't speak for
I think
CJ.
I think it's a
I'm
dumb
not,
idea.
I'm not saying that this is morally right. As a human being, this sucks. This is devastating to hear you've lost your job, and this sucks.
I will say one thing in defense of WWE. We're pinpointing WWE for like, how dare you cut all these when you have record profits? How many people actively skip the self-checkouts? Because Walmart, Kroger, whatever grocery store you have in your area, I'm positive have self-checkouts. Me in my small town has a self-checkout lane in CVS, our pharmacy. The Walgreens also has one. The McDonald's has one. It is all in an attempt to do the exact same thing, to eliminate that person that they have to pay an hourly salary to. They can rent out the machines and it's a fixed rate cost.
How many people are going to brick and mortar stores, or are you ordering online?
It's the exact same thing in a huge business.
It's
Walmart, especially in the past 2 years, has recorded super high profits, especially when they're the only stores in some places that are allowed to be open, and the only way you can get any of the things that is necessary for your life, and they don't have to pay people to do things. It's record profit. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm very much against them, and I will avoid the self-checkout and go to a human whenever possible for that purpose. But we can't sit here and condemn WWE for a ton of other companies in this country and in the world that are doing the exact same thing.
For the record, I only do self-checkout if I have like 2 items.
That's good. That's good.
That's great.
But we're also saying, you know,
If I got a
again,
shitload of stuff, I want a human to help me.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I try to not go to. I try to go through the drive-through. I try, you know, and I try to go to the human when I can, and I try that too. But it's also one of those things, you know. Everybody has every right to be pissed off at WWE because what they are doing is shitty, and it is shitty from the perspective of somebody who wishes they had a 30-second of that profit that they're making in our bank accounts. It's shitty. But it's also one of those before everybody starts going, oh, fuck WWE, and why would you do that? So awful people, a sentiment I agree with. How many things have you ordered from Amazon? You know, the pandemic put a lot of comic book shops out of business because they weren't printing comic books and they couldn't sell back issues. Comic books got sold and Jeff Bezos got some money. You know, it is unfortunately in the corporate world, which WWE is. It's the same thing as, oh, you know, I don't want to get out. I don't want to go out and buy that book. I can just get it delivered right to my door. Oh, free shipping with Prime? Fuck yeah.
We don't even want to jump on the whole corporate soapbox because I can really jump on one with some certain financial institutions and their business practices to make more money, and just
Now,
it's a whole soapbox. You don't even want me on it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to name names here because you guys will probably immediately know who I'm talking about. But what if you have key corporate figures in the WWE just leave the company because they're seeing their creative ideas?
Go ahead and say the
go
name.
through the
Go ahead and say the name. Well, first of all, time out. Before we get to this point, Nick, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. I think that this really shows this particular round of cuts drives home, given the NXT reboot and all of the things that have come along with that and the cuts before this. It tells me that WWE is going back to what they did in like OVW, because there weren't a lot. I remember like watching when Punk and Danielson got signed. They didn't sign a lot of indie guys back then. It was like a big deal, like low key when he came in.
Mhm.
It was like a big deal whenever an indie guy came in because it was cool, and they didn't really do that. They had their own guys, and that's who they put in. Cena, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, Randy Orton, that whole OVW class, Batista. Um, and outside of the guys who are made that they've done that with, like AJ Styles, um, Seth Rollins, people like that who were definitely big indie or names from other companies that got brought in, um, they're really just dumping all of that. I wouldn't be surprised to see people like Dijakovic, Roderick Strong, people like that, you know, who is still in my top 3 favorite wrestlers, um, get the same kind of treatment because it really seems like they're going back to that model, like NXT 2.0, their training center. They want people in their 20s that don't have any wrestling experience. Um, and that might be part of the whole sale thing. They want this, they want to sell like this is a completely contained unit. We get our own guys, we train them, we put them up, we don't got to worry about wrestling at all. And then they can be like, AEW really isn't competition because we are our own self-sustaining entity at this point. We don't even need to worry about indie wrestling or anything like that. Like completely abandon the territory idea of just bringing people in from other places. Um, and that worked for them in the past. You know, like I said, you had that OVW class, but I don't think it will now because OVW wasn't on USA for 2 hours every week, where, you know, those people were worn out by the time they come up to the roster. Um, so I think that that's what this really is all about to me. Names like Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, you know, it doesn't even bother really to talk about like the missed potential in those guys now because this has happened so many times in the last 2 years that like everybody knows that they're releasing people with tons of potential. You know, we see Malachi Black and Andrade over in AEW showing that right now. Malachi Black's the best example.
Yes.
Of, you know, someone who was clearly a waste of potential that just got released in the middle of a storyline, which, you know, like
And
Hit
they
Row
forgot their
and
30-day compete clause.
yeah, but I mean, you have people like Hit Row and Keith Lee who are in the middle of like a repackaging or a movement up the card that are now released in the middle of this, which doesn't make any sense, but it hasn't made sense for a while. So to me, that's what this really tells me is they want to go back to that OVW system, and maybe every once in a while, if there's someone who's like a ridiculously can't miss indie guy, um, they might sign them. But I do ultimately think that if they do that, it's going to be better for wrestling as a whole. When there are more companies, hopefully Ring of Honor bounce back or some other ones rise up, because it made me think for whatever reason, of a couple of the wrestlers that they signed before they really had a chance to like make waves on the indies. For a while they were just signing people up like snap 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 as soon as they had like what was the guy in PWG? He wrestled in the
Willie
205, but I
Mack.
can't think of
Oh,
his
not
name.
Willie Mack.
No. The he was like one of the first. He was like the first openly gay wrestler. I can't remember his name. He like toured up on PWG for like 2 shows and they signed him. And he was in
Anthony
NXT for
Bowens
a
or
while. No.
never mind.
Um,
I know
yeah,
who you're talking about too.
yeah. So I apologize. I forgot. I can't think of his name, but he,
Wait, Darren Young?
No.
no,
Is it Darren? Never mind.
but he like had literally like 2 shows in PWG. He was getting a little bit of buzz, and then they signed him up and they shoved him 45 minutes into an episode of 205 Live. Like that did nothing. Like I think it's going to be better for these guys to build up their careers in
Jake
the indies
Atlas?
because they haven't even had a Jake Atlas. That's who I'm thinking of. Do you remember when Jake Atlas first kind of popped
Thanks to
off in
Ray.
PWG?
Shout out to Ray for bringing that name up. Yeah, I remember
Thank
that.
you. Yes.
But
Yeah.
here's,
So
here's what I'm
he had
saying.
just popped off and then he got signed and
Yeah.
buried down the card. And you know, maybe if the system, I don't think it's going to work for them because, like I said, they don't have that same system. NXT isn't OVW circa 2003 or whatever, but it might be better for wrestling as a whole.
Well, here's the thing, you know, and we're going to go into this. unfortunately, I mentioned inflated bubbles that have to burst. This is the bursting of the bubble of what was started several years ago when they're like, "Hey, we got to sign. You got some buzz? You're signed. You got some indie buzz? Let's sign you. You got some indie buzz? Let's sign you. Oh, New Japan Pro Wrestling's making a run to America? Not on our watch. We're signing you, and you. Oh, Ring of Honor's running bigger arenas. We're signing you, and you. Oh, Impact has something. We need you and you. Oh, AEW's becoming a thing. You. Get over here. That's our money. Let's fucking let's sign people so they can't have it. Let's sign, let's sign Tom Brady just so fucking some other team can't have him. And we'll put his ass on the bench. Let's get Aaron Rodgers too, because so that way, another team can't have them. Oh, let's sign Teddy Bridgewater. He's never made a Pro Bowl and he sucks. That's fine. Let's just make sure that some other team can't have him.
It's also like signing like promising quarterbacks their freshman year of college and then like sitting them on the bench and then they never get a chance to like get better.
It's kind of like it's like something that goes on in major college football. They oversign scholarships just so you can go, yeah, we don't need you. You want to transfer? But we're going to sign you to our school. We're going to give you the scholarship because, oh, well, we don't want Michigan, Ohio State, and, Notre Dame and Mizzou to have you. So we're just going to go ahead and sign you here.
Cincy for the national championship. Sorry. So that's a whole other college football rant for another day.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing. Now, Easy has a point he wanted to make up, and I'm going to let him make his point, and this is going to be the point that I bit my tongue on when we were discussing what to do on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say the guy's name, because this was brought up on another podcast.
Okay.
Say his name quickly so I can say my point here.
What if, in a hypothetical beautiful world, that somehow Triple H actually says, I'm leaving the WWE because they fucked me, so I'm saying a fuck you. What if Triple H leaves WWE forever?
Okay, well I'm gonna see your what if and raise you a what if.
Which is funny because I really actually don't watch that show on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, here's the what if. Like when I think of what ifs, I like to think of things that will actually happen, and that's something that will never actually happen. It's fun to think about. It's fun. It's cute. And I'm not saying that the much, much more successful podcast was off base by thinking that could happen. Triple H is a company man. First, foremost, and always. Triple H, as personally hurt as he might be with seeing his vision taken away from him, is still going to have a say in the company and will always have a say in the company. And while we're on subject to Triple H, and I appreciate everything he did trying to make NXT a brand. But you want to talk about, I don't know how he gets a pass on this, oh my God, WWE is immoral train. Because Triple H was the godfather behind, let's just fucking sign everybody. Let's fucking sign this guy so Ring of Honor can't have him. At first it made sense with some of his signings. Yeah, Pac had done all he could do. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor. They've done all they could they've hit their ceilings where they came from. That made sense. But Triple H was the driving force behind, let's sign everybody. Let's get
Triple
them
H
so
killed
we
the
have...
UK indie scene.
Triple H killed the UK indie scene. Triple H killed the American
Still going
indie scene.
strong, too.
And he was
Triple
in the
H
process
wanted to
of
kill
killing
the national,
indie.
the international.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. He was in the process of killing India's any wrestling scene and had his eyes hardcore on Mexico and Japan.
Yeah. He wanted his own WWE NXT Japan so he could put everybody out, so he could control wrestling in Japan. So before we all go, poor Triple H, for one, I do feel for him a little bit because I prefer his vision to what we're getting now. At least there was something that I could get behind. But before we all get on this, Triple H is such a moral fucking savior. Triple H in a pandemic ruined the UK indie scene, which before this, the whole thing began, and before a lot of them were exposed as being predators, the UK indie scene was fucking thriving. fucking thriving.
Oh, it was
a
awesome.
it was a beautiful fucking scene. You know, we had, I know a months ago, Nick and I had this discussion. There's no longer a mid-level indie for somebody to go in between the locals and the big time to develop. You know, you don't have Evolve, you don't have Dragon Gate USA, you don't have Ring of Honor, old school Ring of Honor anymore. Man, I don't have Ring of Honor period anymore. You know why that's gone? Triple H.
Mhm.
That is gone because he decided hey, if we're gonna own a monopoly, at least he can, at least he can use the tokens he wanted to. And you know what? It gave me wrestling I enjoyed. I'm not gonna act like I'm fucking some savior and better than everybody, and I have any moral compass to what at the end of the day is still, even with AEW and as great as it is and as nice as they are, at the end of the day is not the most up and up per business in the world. But Triple H did all that. And right now, in the midst of a pandemic, everybody being exposed as predators, and also Triple H wanting to say, I want all the toys for me, therefore forcing AEW to have to go, maybe we should start hoarding toys too. AEW taking that philosophy out of, fucking necessity because, we got to sign this person because if we don't, they'll just go over there. And we need talent too. Evolve is dead. Ring of Honor is possibly dead. The American indie scene is as good as it is. It's either you get signed to a contract or you're making peanuts at the VFW.
It's your side job.
Yeah.
It's a side job, or you're making a lot of money.
Or at least you're under a contract to make money. You may not be making a lot of money in MLW or fucking Impact. You got a side hustle, even with those contracts. But the only way you're going to make anything is with a contract. You're either on the mid-level indie scene, and you got to get developed on the fly with a contract, and that's it. And what if Triple H is going to leave because of this? I mean, respect to everyone for having that thought. I mean, I don't want to ruin your opinion of Triple H because I know he created a brand that before AEW came around gave a lot of us something to believe in, and it was right there in WWE. But here's also the thing. As much as we believed in that, like it's now like a look what you've done. Look what you've done. There's you started this. You started this, and it wasn't sustainable. And especially now that you lost the war, and Vince McMahon
that they chose to engage in. Yeah,
that you started.
They wanted to engage in a war before AEW was a thought. This has been a WWE plan to eliminate any competition.
Yeah,
since
going after
for 22 years,
going after New Japan,
years.
Going after Ring of Honor, going after PWG, going after Mexico, going after FIP, blocking those shows, blocking the indie scenes from being able to try to block the indie scenes from running WrestleMania weekend. Like this was the plan, and now they're Triple H. Everybody's all like, I feel bad for him. Do I feel bad that he can't be creative? Sure, because I appreciate his vision more than Vince's. This mess was started because Triple H wanted to use the WWE mentality of we must own everything to create his own indies. And we bought into it because we wanted to see the wrestling. That's fine because I like seeing good wrestling. I don't care what the initials of the company are. I like seeing good wrestling. And I got good wrestling. It's
Disney buying every popular pop culture franchise. Yes. Muppets, Star Wars, Marvel, it's consolidating all of them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for the best. Fox,
it's the Rockefellers owning the oil and all the ways to convert the oil into a sellable product and buying the railroads to deliver the oil to the consumer so that they can jack up the price and make as much money as humanly possible. It's a monopoly, and technically it's supposed to be illegal in this country, but they haven't done that on content creators.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they can just go, don't watch that content. Go watch
Well-
Go watch Breaking Bad. Go to an Usher concert. Go watch the Golden Girls reruns. Don't care. That's content.
Because until Triple H came in, it really wasn't effective. Vince wanted a monopoly. He's been doing this ever since he came
Since he
in and bought
started.
this company. Like, his dad was fine being a regional promotion. He was not. And he was very cutthroat in his younger years in the 80s to eliminate a lot of things. And he got really, really close to a total domination. And then somebody else with just as much money came in and really thwarted him. And then he thought he had him beat, and all these little upstarts come up. And he thought that maybe with enough money and just his creation and his vision, he could just beat him out like he beat WCW. And that just didn't happen for him. But Triple H played the game in a different way. The cerebral assassin came in and said, you can't beat me if you don't have the talent, and I've got the money to hold your talent. It's the exact same plan. Total content domination for the wrestling business. It's the same plan. It's the same ultimate goal for both sides. So if Vince is evil, then so is Paul Levesque. He just got really more cutthroat and creative with it.
And he was able to give us, in our little niche corner of the wrestling fandom, what we wanted.
He
The
just
best
cared a little
wrestling
bit more
at
about
that
The
the
best
time.
wrestling in the world. We got it.
He did give us that for
Yeah.
several years,
You know, and it's not.
which was enough to cause people like me to not question it.
Mm-hmm.
Even
he
like
made-
NXT
he made
UK.
you
NXT
happy.
UK has had some of the greatest matches I've seen in the last 10 years.
And it was
But
created
NXT
to
UK
kill the.
is why there used to be 4 or 5 extremely successful popular UK brands, and now there's 2 maybe, and they're not nearly as big as they were.
Mm-hmm.
And how What Culture tried their own wrestling promotion.
Exactly.
That kind of.
That's how healthy. But that speaks to how healthy that scene was. That a fucking pop culture website that did what we're doing, like that laid the groundwork to what we're doing right here. That the scene was so healthy that because they had a popular enough website and YouTube channel, they could reinvest the money into an independent promotion that brought in names like Kurt Angle,
That put on good
Rey
shows.
Mysterio, Cody Rhodes.
And
all
Martin
of them.
Kirby. He's good.
I'm talking about like the names.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah,
saying
okay.
like the fucking names. What the UK indie scene's a wasteland now. So yeah. So with all due respect to anybody else on this platform that feels like Triple H is anything, that the Triple H is a victim in all of this, Triple H is no victim. Triple H is just as responsible about this as Vince. Only difference is Triple H gave us what we wanted, so we forgave him.
How do you see this? If my theory is right, that this is mostly to, create a self-sustained system where they just have their own guys and they don't even sign anyone from anywhere else. Where do you see that working for WWE? Because I mean, there are people that like NXT 2.0, and I don't hate it as much as some people do. I like it better than late stage NXT 1.0, just because it's not like a shell of its former self. It just started off not that great. So like, do you see this working? To just relying on they have some excellent trainers there and an excellent facility.
I mean,
My problem with it is that they're on national TV when they are super green and not that great.
I feel like eventually you're gonna see NXT turn back into what FCW, OVW was, and it's going to be like, it'll be available, but it's not going to be on national TV, but that's okay. You know,
Oh,
you
I
can
don't think. I think it'll stay on national TV.
I
but
do too.
I
But
won't be surprised
it's
if it
just-
gets
but
moved
but
to
but but
Peacock.
but as far as the original question of is this self-sustaining system, is it going to work? I mean, maybe. I don't see it not working because like how many, you know, you mentioned like think back to Grant. Some of them had a little bit of independent experience, but maybe not a whole hell of a lot of it. You know, look back to the early part of the millennium. Batista wasn't an indie darling. John Cena had, you know, some experience when he first got trained on the West Coast, but you know, John Cena was what didn't make the rounds like all these other guys did. Shelton Benjamin was a All-American, you know, collegiate wrestler. Randy Orton,
Jake Hager.
Randy Orton was, you know, he had a little bit of experience in the St. Louis Indies, but he didn't make the rounds. He got like, hey, you got some potential and you got a pedigree. Sign it. You know, Brock Lesnar was a, you know, the best, you know, collegiate wrestler. Kurt Angle was an Olympic gold medalist. And they're like, you're a good athlete. You play a sport that doesn't really, at least at that time, because that was before MMA got big, and where money was in MMA. You know, you don't play basketball, football, baseball, or hockey where there's a professional league to go to.
What do you do?
You know, what do? We'll train you how to do this choreographed wrestling. You're a good athlete. We can mold you. We can shape you. And we're going to throw you out there. And it has worked.
But it worked in front of whatever the local audience of Louisville, Kentucky, or wherever OVW is based out of.
If you're talking about just
No.
NXT, I don't know if it's going to work. But I mean, if you're talking about like WWE as a whole self-sustaining that way with talent, I'm sure they're going to
Well,
get. I'm sure
that's
they're
the
going to
only
get some
way
good
those
talent.
guys are wrestling in front of people, though. They're not wrestling in front of like 100 people gymnasiums. They're wrestling in front of nobody, practicing, and then they go out to NXT and
I mean-
wrestle in front of an audience of, you know, whatever, 500,000.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it will be sustainable because, well, one, like they're so far ahead now, like it's hard to imagine it. You know, I mean they're, you know, like all the WWE people that come at me when I go, this show sucks, and they say, well, they just got $1 billion from Fox. Fuck your feelings. That's it. That's the cut and dry of it, and they might have a few diamonds in the rough going that way. Gable
They'll have a
Stevenson.
couple
Gable
stars.
Stevenson has already been signed. Olympic gold medal wrestler.
They
He's been
have two-
drafted.
Yeah. Well, they have two really good collegiate wrestlers in the NXT 2.0 system at this moment, training with some pretty good wrestlers.
You know,
And they're going to get some stars out of this. Braun Breaker is a star and will be a star. I will call it right now. That's who they think the next John Cena is. That'll be the next guy after Roman. And that's fine. They'll get stars out of this and it'll stay on TV because 52 weeks out of the year, it's programming that USA doesn't have to worry about at a time slot that they didn't have a lot of eyeballs anyway. It's
I mean,
a cut
it
and
worked
dry
even
deal.
during NXT. I mean, people like Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman there was a time when Braun Strowman was like, probably should have won the championship, like beat Brock Lesnar,
There
or
were
whoever it
several
was at that
times,
time.
yeah.
You know, it happened too little too late, and he was essentially like a John Cena or a Batista or a
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar. He was just a athlete.
yeah.
Th-
But I mean, like,
they'll get-
they'll if they go with this idea, like it will self-sustain. Whether or not that's good for the wrestling business as a whole, I don't know.
It keeps their hands. To me, it means they're going to keep their hands out of stuff, and maybe after a few years,
And
things
that's
will
fine.
regrow.
But it also needs one of those like how will those other promotions sustain? You know, what if, you know, everything's cyclical and right now like we're doing all right, but there's gonna come a time I brought this up a few weeks ago, or like 3 years ago. I never thought I'd be saying, whatever. And, New Japan's just kind of meh. What if AEW becomes meh? I'm not saying it's going to go out of business, but, like, what's going to happen when AEW hits its, goes to a creative valley and it's no longer a creative peak, and AEW's not very hot. They got a lot of money behind that. What's going to
Momentum
happen?
can shift too. WWE might be excellent again someday.
What's
might
gonna
luck their way
what's
into
gonna
it.
happen? ROH is potentially out of business. What happens when Impact's like, it's easy content, but like we're not paying you much money and we can't sustain this anymore.
In 3 years, we could be talking about the high that GCW is on.
Yeah.
That's the beauty in the fact that WWE has decided to go back to their own system and cultivate their own guys. They're always going to be on the top.
But the other
something will pop up.
The other difference is it's like, you could see the whole wrestling business go into a recession where, while yes, they're keeping their hands out of gotta sign everybody and gotta sign everybody and gotta sign everybody, but the downside is if the whole wrestling business goes into a recession, which it could, not 1994, 1995 levels, of the whole business, and even with ECW, like, wasn't a lot of money in American wrestling at that time. That, it could be bad because, like, okay, Impact's saying, well, that's it, we're closing up shop, and AEW's like, look, we're kind of in a low point now. We got a cap on our talent, and then here's somebody from Impact going, I got a lot of talent, and WWE's going, sorry, we're self-sustained, we're good too. That's where that could be bad for the business as a whole. But do I think it'll be bad? But do I think it'll be bad for WWE at all? Absolutely not. That's perfect for them.
I don't see, unless there's a huge shift, I don't ever see wrestling dipping back down to the 1994, 1995 point, because wrestling has proved itself to be money for TV. Maybe not in other places. Maybe the gate is low in attendance, but they've kind of, with WWE showing and people being in and out of that system, they've learned the ways to kind of hide that. After Stone Cold and The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and all these things, after the Attitude Era boom, wrestling proved that it could be a moneymaker, and it's a sustainable television show. We're seeing long-term deals for TV now. AEW is going to get a huge uptake when they re-sign their deal in a couple of years. We're seeing a couple other wrestling companies negotiating for television deals. We didn't even mention the NWA is also a pop-up thing that's kind of regenerated itself over the past couple of years. There's a lot of, AEW may have a creative lull, but we have three big different promotions that have consistent television, and that doesn't seem to be going away. It seems to be adding. So even if one is in a lull, the other could be in a boom. Like we're just talking about creative ups and downs, that's not necessarily bad for the wrestling business. It's bad for an individual company, but not in the business as a whole. I think the business as a whole has shown that it's profitable, it can make you money, and people are interested. Even though we're talking about how NXT 2.0 is not going to be good to watch for a lot of us, some people will enjoy it. They will still get their ratings, and it's something that the network doesn't have to worry about. It's there, it's on, boom, that's 2 hours that they don't have to worry about. As long as they can all keep their heads down and not make too many, Domino's pizza cutter waves, they're good. Everybody's golden there. It's money. It's easy money everywhere involved. You just got to watch your expenses. It's fine. I don't think we're going to see that kind of a lull anymore. Not for a really, really, really long time.
Well, I hope you're right for the sake of just being wrestling fans. But I don't have anything else to add. Does anybody any final thoughts on any of the rest of that?
I'm finished.
Nick?
I just hope they all land where they're supposed to land. I think we've said a million times AEW is pretty full, but
it's hard to turn down
some-
Keith Lee. I definitely
Keith Lee,
I definitely think the female talent, like especially your Ember Moons and your
The
You're
female
gonna see
Taya
it come
Valkyrie.
off hard for Ember Moon.
The female
coming to
talent
AEW.
will go to AEW.
They need to go.
because we
Keith
need
Lee.
that.
Nia
Keith-
Jax can go back to modeling.
Yeah.
She's a problem.
Not-
Keith
Nia
Lee, I
Jax,
know
I
we
can
all want to
see
see
it
Keith
fun.
Lee. I put a controversial opinion on Twitter. I want Keith Lee in AEW, but I want to wait. I want to see Keith Lee have a New Japan run, full-time New Japan, before he goes to AEW, and then we get some fucking buzz around his ass coming to AEW.
I rather like some of those guys. Honestly, most of the male roster, I would actually want to see them go to New Japan at first.
I don't want him to go to
Like I
New
said,
Japan.
only
You know where I want a lot of them to go? Because this promotion, as well as they're doing, they need more youth.
Yeah.
I want them in the
I
NWA.
saw like from my
Yeah.
group chat that I was in, like someone was saying like maybe Karrion Kross and Scarlett they'll go back to Impact. It's like, well, they said like didn't they actually leave on bad terms or something, which is why they left in the first place. So,
This was a bad time for Ring of Honor to be doing what they're doing, because now they could have an influx of
Yeah.
buzzworthy talent. But I think the NWA, I think especially the NWA, like a lot of, I love the
Karrion
NWA.
Kross for the NWA would just be sublime.
Yeah. There's the problem with the NWA
Yeah.
roster is a lot of them are people that were, big in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. And that's fine, but you kind of need a little bit more youth in that promotion. And I feel like a lot of the male talent could be utilized well there. We got to wrap this show up, so quickly.
And also, just one last thing, maybe just imagine a trio, like dream match, or not dream match, but a dream faction between Malachi Black, Killer Cross, and Wyndham. Like, yes, no? Just
I have no interest in seeing.
an expansion
I have no
of the
interest in
House of
seeing.
Black.
I have no interest in seeing Karrion Kross, Killer Cross, or any of the anything like that in AEW or in AEW right now. And the same thing with Wyndham Rotunda. I have no desire to see them in AEW at this time.
I'm ready to see his horror
in the
movie.
future.
Let
Yeah.
him focus on his
But-
horror movie.
All
But I
right.
do want Scarlett in AEW soon. I will take that.
Okay. But yep, that is pretty much the
Hey,
show.
we need
Thank
two
you all
more
for
rosters.
Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of pro wrestling, but from the world of comic books, gaming, anime, and all things geek culture. Follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek89, Twitter @athletic_geek89, Instagram @athleticgeek89. If you'd like to help improve this channel financially, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/athleticgeek89. Check out my other videos. Check out my Geeking Out podcast with Aaron Schafter. Great writer. Met him at NWA Empower. So, definitely check that podcast out. Nick, still no social media?
Nope.
CJ,
Yeah, I got the tweeter at CJTMall0.
easy.
I'm also on the Twitter at Eric Zarens.
All right. So for Nick, EZ, and CJ, I'm the Athletic Geek. We're just marks, and we're out. Go Chase!